Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey Mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Yo, and hello everybody, Mike here. Welcome to another episode of the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we talk vintage cards week in, week out with some of the greatest collectors around. Minds in the hobby. It's just fantastic. And we are finally, like everybody's breathing a sigh of relief. Finally, Mike's going to talk about something else after this week when he gets done with the Bowman run. And it's been a really fun journey going through this. I have enjoyed all my guests, all the episodes, all the learning, all the fun facts about, 48 to 55 Bowman. And today, 1951 Bowman closes us out. This is, to me, such an important set in the hobby. And I saved it intentionally till last because it's got some pretty key cards in it. I think it's one of those sets that is underappreciated a little bit, but we're going to get into that because, like always, we have somebody to discuss this with, somebody that's putting together the set, somebody that I've known for 3 or 4 years now, and it's another Mike, who is known as Baseball Card Life. Mike, welcome to the show.
Great to be with you again, sir.
Yeah. When were you on the show last? We've talked, obviously,
not on this show, but other shows,
right?
For Hobby Palooza.
Yeah, the Palooza, which is coming up here in a couple of months. We'll be doing Hobby Palooza 2023, the 4th iteration of Hobby Palooza. It's like, what? If you don't know what Hobby Palooza is, go look on Bench Clear Media. It is a event we kind of host every year in preparation for the National and getting ready for that. So, Mike, I'm excited to have you here. I know 51 Bowman is a set that you have a lot of love for and respect for. This is just a great set. Do you mind if I read? So I'll tell the story. Mike, we were going through the Cardboard Connection description, and there were some things that they said in there that weren't quite accurate. And Mike was kind enough to give me a more accurate version of what's on there. And, week in, week out, I've been reading just a description to give you guys an idea of what this set's all about and the particulars of it. So let's do that right now. And then Mike and I will get going, analyzing everything and talking through it all. Few sets are more important in the hobby than 1951 Bowman baseball. Boasting a checklist with 31 Hall of Fame players, including several rookie cards, the release helped usher in a new era of collecting. 1951 Bowman is a groundbreaking trading card product that is one of the most popular and valuable sets ever made. 1951 Bowman baseball set features color art reproductions of actual photos and consists of 324 cards. The 2 1/16 by 3 1/8 inches cards are the same width as the previous year, but slightly longer. This release is the crown jewel of the Bowman brand, thanks to rookie cards for Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays. Bowman produced baseball cards from 1948 to 1955. They were the only major brand card producer in 1950, but in 1951, Topps began producing cards, thereby creating a rivalry between the two that lasted for 5 years. In 1956, Topps bought out Bowman and integrated the Bowman brand into their product offerings. There was a period of time between 1948 and 1952 when the Bowman Gum Company was the king of the trading card market. With meticulous attention to detail and a highly competitive nature, Jacob Warren Bowman, the owner and founder of the company, used his entrepreneurial spirit to build a successful trading card series. The 324 card set was the largest ever produced by Bowman and accounted for a large majority of the league from that season being immortalized on cardboard. Based on black and white photographs that were then recreated in full color, the vibrant colors and realism of the depicted players helped 1951 Bowman stand out from competing brands. Other than the image, the only attribute on the card front is a white border, a thin black frame, and blackened text box with the player's name in white. 1951 Bowman card backs have little more to them, including several lines of basic stats and info, a lengthy bio, and a large ad at the bottom for the baseball picture cards. The card number is also noted. Additionally, the player's name in red makes it stand out against the rest of the text on the back. Primarily issued with vertical orientation, 45 of the cards, however, were printed horizontally, including 2 of the most significant cards in the set, the Maze and the Mantle. The product was issued in multiple series, and the high number series, cards number 253 through 324, are the most difficult to find. This includes both the Maze and Mantle cards. In addition, the 2 iconic rookie cards, or addition to the 2 iconic rookie cards, the checklist is loaded with marquee Hall of Famers, including Ted Williams, Yogi Berra, Roy Campanella, Pee Wee Reese, Duke Snider, Warren Spahn, along with rookies of Whitey Ford and Nellie Fox. However, the impressive checklist still misses a few big names, including Stan Musial, Jackie Robinson, and Joe DiMaggio. While the pricing for the 53 Bowman, Mantle, and Maze prevents many collectors from completing the set, the rest of the 1951 Bowman set can be found for more affordable prices, especially in mid-grade. So that is the kind of outline of the set, Mike, kind of the basics about it. Thank you for making that as accurate as we can provide to our viewers and listeners. Mm-hmm. What about this set is just attractive to you? What do you love about it?
Well, I like visually every card in the set, for one. I also love 50s baseball, post-integration. A lot of the players were part of the greatest generation, served in World War II. It was the generation of my grandmother. And just so much to learn about that era that, we weren't alive then to know about it. So, reading books and blogs, and it's just the depth you can go into the set is just incredible. It's so much more than, just the cardboard that you collect.
Yeah, no doubt. It is. It's one of my favorite sets in the 50s. No question. Mm-hmm. At 324 cards, though, it's a beast for the era. Like, there's a lot of cards in this set. 52 tops would have, 407 cards, so it would be even larger. But this set at the time was huge, and I actually like that. We'd all rather have more cards than less cards, and compared to what I did last week with Jake doing 48 Bowman, this is what, 5 times bigger, 6 times bigger. It's a much larger set, and I think that's, again, a good thing. When you look at this set and you think about just the basic design of it, what comes to mind? Do you like the design? Do you dislike the design?
Yeah, overall, I love it. There's certain parts of like the backgrounds that they chose, say for the Willie Mays with the brown background, that's a bit confusing, but overall with pictures of the blue skies, like the Mantle, I just love it overall.
Yeah, I like the simpleness of it, the simplicity of it. It is, again, just a picture with a text box with the player's name on it. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I like having the name on the front, honestly, more than, 52 Bowman just has the script signature, the facsimile signature. I'd rather have a printed name that I can actually read, although their signatures were much better than the modern players. And a lot of them you could read, no doubt. But I'd rather just have the player's name. There's no team logos. I think that would be cool. I think, of course, 52 Tops did that the next year so well, right? And from then on, and you don't even have position. There's just some things that we think of that need to be on a baseball card that aren't there. But there's some, awesomeness to the simplicity of it. Agreed?
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start going through some of the key cards, because this set, as I mentioned, is chocked full of Hall of Famers. I mean, 31 Hall of Famers. I happen to have 21 of those. I'm missing 10. I was looking just before, and I'm missing some guys like, what's cool, I like they have some managers and coaches. I'm missing Bill Dickey, Frank Frisch, Casey Stengel, all managers / coaches from 51 Bowman. I'm missing the red card, Phil Rizzuto, Feller, Slaughter, Boudreaux, Pee Wee Reese, and Richie Ashburn as well. But I have a lot of others. And this set starts off with a bang, right? Boom. Card number 1 is the rookie card of none other than the chairman of the board himself, Whitey Ford. Absolutely amazing that they started off with that. And, he had played, I think, I'm trying to remember the story. He had played before, but had gone to something. He was not in baseball and has this card in or played in 51 and then didn't play for a couple of years or something like that. But great card of Ford. I happen to have a PSA 3. This is a pretty pricey card, actually, for a lot of reasons. Obviously, card number 1 in any vintage set is going to be more condition sensitive because of the way cards were stored by our grandparents and our, those people that collect, the kids back in the day, the greatest generation, as they collected. They didn't exactly, as they put cards in order, right? Rubber bands, shoe boxes, all that kind of stuff. So that card number 1 would get beat up quite a bit. And so finding a Ford in a higher grade is expensive.
It's a comma card. That's over $1,000.
Yeah, definitely in the comma range. I picked mine up a couple years ago, I guess. I'm trying to remember, but love that I finally had it. That was a card that evaded me for a long time. So I go card number 2, right after card number 1. Card number 2 is Larry Berra. Yeah. Y'all may know him as Yogi, Lawrence Berra, I should say. I love the background of it. Like, he actually has a very cool background, very cool picture. It's just a portrait. Love that card. Any comments you want to throw in about the cards, feel free as we go. Robin Roberts, again, another nice portrait of him. But see, mine are all like 2s, 3s, 4s, and they look really good. I mean, my Robin Roberts is a 2, It's like, okay, I'll take that. So these are those kind of cards like we've talked about before, that kind of the smaller the dimensions, right? The more you can get away with some things, I think, condition-wise. It just doesn't take away aesthetically from the look of the card. Newer Hall of Famer Gil Hodges.
I've got that one.
So
yeah, you're looking at corners aren't that big of a deal on lower grades. You're going to notice definitely centering, the wax stains on the back. Then there's like the printer lines that you'll see. That's a very common issue. Registration, which means like the card is out of focus. That's another big, if you're looking to buy any of these cards, those are some things you need to look at.
The staining on the back is incredibly common. In fact, I don't even know that most of the grading companies, PSA, SGC, discount for that. It's so expected that it almost doesn't hurt the grade of the card, because of course it's going to have staining. It's a 51 Bowman. It's incredibly common. So to find especially key cards without staining is you can usually get a premium. You'll see premiums on those cards if the back's not stained.
And part of the reason for that is that when this set was distributed, there was 2 types of packs. There was penny packs, and each of the packs have wax to close the pack, which would stick all on the back of the actual card. And then there were 5-cent packs, so you get 6 cards for 5 cents. So
6 cards.
That's why there's so many wax stains on the backs of each of the cards.
I have a few nickels that I'd buy some packs. If anybody has any out there, I'll take them for a nickel a piece.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's funny, we'd all go back and we'd buy stores out if we could have our DeLorean,
Mm-hmm.
and people would go back to great moments in history. I'd go back and buy baseball cards back when they were being sold on the rack.
So if you find a card or own one that doesn't have wax stain on the back, that means that it came out of a nickel pack.
Yeah, so here's one. I wonder if I have one. Let's see if I have one that's pretty prominent with the staining, because it's not difficult. I mean, you can see it instantly, like at the top. Usually there's a stain along the top and or the bottom. Mm-hmm. Sometimes both, but like I've got this Campanella, again, only a 3. And I say that
beautiful.
Sarcastically. The Campy card is so fantastic, right? Because he's throwing off his face mask. There's this random person they drew in the stands behind him, and you're like, who's that guy? What's he doing there? Just a great card of Campy. The Snyder's our first horizontal card of the show off here, but I don't know. Do you like the horizontals or the verticals better, or does it matter to you?
It doesn't really matter. I have a few that are my favorites, like this Thurman Tucker.
Yeah.
And just how great the painter did with all the fans in the background. It's just amazing to me. So he's a common. He was a center fielder for the Indians. And then this is the photo that they used.
Okay. I love that they're able to, with that aspect ratio change, right, from vertical to horizontal, you can get more of a panoramic view, right? You can get that longer image. If that was on a vertical card, with the cards being so thin already, they're not wide, really wide, normal sized cards. And so to get a shot like the Snyder or the Tucker, where you get the whole bat, you get everything in it. Like, think if this card was vertical, right? You'd be cutting off the bat of the Duke Snyder or the Tucker, right? You couldn't get it all. You couldn't incorporate that entire moment unless you did them horizontally. So I think it's cool. George Kell. So this card itself has a good story. I bought this at the National 2 years ago and it was, the card boom was happening and so many cards were going for a lot of money. And this guy had this card, 51 Bowman, George Kell, Hall of Famer, $15, PSA 4. I would have bought it on the spot. And I had the gall to ask him if he'd take $10. And he said yes. And so I couldn't get my $10 out fast enough. Like, sure, I'll take a 51 Bowman Hall of Famer for $10. Thank you. Slabbed up, ready to go. I love stories like that. I love finding stuff like that. Johnny Mize on the Yankees. What I notice about the differences between 2s, 3s, and 4s, and then 5s, I don't have a ton of kind of that mid to upper grade stuff, but the white's just a little bit sharper. That it's not as, I'll use the word dirty, and that's probably true on a lot of them, but it's literally dirty. But the white's just brighter. It stands out more. The corners are certainly better. Centering, though, you can still, again, find some, I'll call them grimy cards that are well centered that come out 3s. There's a Bob Lemon, great Indians pitcher, followed by another great Indians pitcher, Early Win. But see, you can really tell the centering. Like when these are off center, like this one, it really stands out. This one's pretty bad top to bottom. But there is still a border at the top, which is it's just not much there.
Yeah, if you get like 30-70 or worse, that's when you can really notice, I feel like.
Yeah, it starts.
That's kind of my cutoff point. If it's worse than 30-70, I'm looking for something else.
So as you're building the set, so you're building the complete set, correct? Raw form or a mix?
It's going to be graded once I can. I have over half the set right now. So, and
have you just been picking up singles?
Yeah.
Just one at a time kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's your go-to place for picking up 51 Bowmans? Where do you like to shop it?
eBay mostly. That's where they are. Some auction sites. I've gotten a few off the auction sites, but mostly eBay the last year or so.
Okay, fair enough. So eventually, once you build the set, you're going to grade the whole set. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a little story behind that and why I want to do that. There's a lawyer, I can't remember the gentleman's name, who a few years ago took his whole T206 set and displayed it at the Detroit Art Museum, and with the Wagner and everything, and it was just on display, and I thought that was incredible. There's so it really inspired me, like, that large of a set I can't do the T206. This is way too much. Let me try this set and just do them all graded, and eventually put them on display in my house, and maybe take it to a card show or something like that in the future, and just show it off and talk to collectors and share that, with patience and time, you can do some amazing things in this hobby. And you've talked a lot about that on this podcast over the last couple of years. So it's been about a three years. I've been working on this, and about a little over halfway done now. So
that's incredible. The vision of that. I'm thinking of the whole set. Like, it's going to take up a whole wall, especially in slabs, right? Because slabs are way bigger.
Yeah.
It's probably twice the area of the card itself. And so you're going to need a lot of wall space. Is your wife approved this decision? That's the question.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
I love it. Another great Hall of Famer in this set, Warren Spahn. He's got that high leg kick happening on this card. It's just awesome. Looks like he's throwing up against or out on the outfield wall kind of thing, warming up for a game or something. Again, we saw the Campanella. There's some, again, key Negro League players that have cards in this set. Larry Doby is one of those. Great player. The Ted Williams is a great card. What's the difference? Do you know what the difference is between this Ted Williams and the 1950 Bowman Ted Williams?
Well, the 50 is smaller and it's more crunched together. The backs are different.
Okay. If you'll notice, in the 50 Bowman, there are no clouds in the sky.
Oh, I didn't
but miraculously, in 51 Bowman, clouds appear in the back of the image. So it's always, I always laugh when I put those two cards next to each other, because I'm like, this is hilarious. But love the Ted Williams. Another great Negro League star, Major League star, Monty Irvin. And this is in a 5. It's got a weird, you can probably see it on video way better, but you see that print dot right between the first and last name? I would have thought that would detract from the grading, but otherwise, very sharp card.
Very hard to find that one centered too, and you have a great copy that's centered. So,
wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I thought they were all hard to find, well centered, but there's probably, you're right, depending on where they were on the sheet, right, and how easy it was to cut. Hall of Fame manager Billy Southworth has a card in this set.
Yeah, I get that.
So we already saw one of the rookies. You got the Billy. You got an 8. Holy moly!
Yeah, he's buried about 10 miles from my house in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, he grew up here.
So there's, again, 4 pretty critical rookies in the set. I already showed you the Ford. The other one, besides the 2 biggies, is the Nellie Fox rookie. Again, a young Nellie Fox never looks young in any picture, but he does in his 51 Bowman. Everything else, he looks old before his time. You know, he looks like this old grizzly statesman kind of guy. Nelson Fox, I love it. Another Hall of Fame manager in the set is Leo DeRocher. And then Bucky Harris. So towards the end, it's like they ran out of players and they started adding all these managers and coaches. You got Al Lopez as a manager.
Yep.
So
the managers are actually split up evenly. There's 8 managers in the low series and 8 in the high series.
Okay.
And also there's a player who was also a manager named Phil Cavaretta. He was a manager and a player in 51, but it doesn't say manager on the back of the actual card. It just says first base and outfield. So Phil Cavaretta played.
So if there's 16, I guess
it's 17 really with Phil.
Yeah. So we've talked about kind of all the whole. We're going to get to the 2 big cards in a little while, but who's this set missing? We've already mentioned a few of them in the open. Who would you add? Who would you love to see in this set that's not currently in it, Mike?
Well, I've gone through all the rosters in baseball in 1950 and 51, and I found them all. It would be Bobby Doerr from the Red Sox, Jackie Robinson, Dodgers, of course, Dick Williams, he doesn't have a card, Brooklyn Dodger, Joe DiMaggio, Yankees, Minnie Minoso, he played in 8 games with the Indians in 1951. Satchel Paige doesn't have a card. He was on the St. Louis Browns. He had played 23 games, I think. Hal Newhouser with the Tigers. He played in 17 games in 51. There's also there could be a coach card of Honus Wagner in the set because he was a coach with the Pirates in 51. There's also could be a Charles Chief Bender card in this set because he is a pitching coach with Philadelphia Athletics. And lastly, I think, this card is missing another Hall of Famer. I feel like it would have been amazing if they'd have made a tribute card of Mr. Connie Mack because he finished his run from like 1901 to 1950, being the longtime, manager for years and years and years and years. So I would have loved to have seen like a tribute card made for him. But
that would have been very cool. The card I wish they made out of all of those, if I had to pick one, it would be the DiMaggio because that would have been his last year. His last season was 51. So I think that would have been a fitting tribute. I mean, DiMaggio doesn't have any Bowman cards. Ironically, later he's a spokesperson. He's on the packaging for Bowman down the road, but no Bowman cards at all for DiMaggio. And that's kind of sad. He has his 49 Leaf. He has some Gaudy cards, some play ball stuff, but no Bowmans. And that just always, I'm like, that's a shame because those would be awesome cards, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It would just take this set to another complete stratosphere level, just having those Hall of Famers.
That's been a common theme. If you've listened to all these episodes out there, guys, when we talk about this section about who's missing, and if you kind of did what Mike did and run down, man, all these players were in the league, right? At some point in some way, why aren't they in the set? And how great that each set, you could say that about a lot of these sets, that if only these people were in it, it would have been just crazy good, right? If 54 Bowman had Aaron and Banks, right? And K-Line in it, how great would that set be as well compared to the tops? And maybe that was the beginning of the end for Bowman, as they weren't getting these key cards, and as players began to develop and their careers began to blossom, the kids are collecting those cards and they're like, yeah, Bowman, tends to miss on some of the great rookies of their time of that particular year. But they got 2 right, Mike. They got 2 really right. And that's, of course, the Mantle and the Mays. Where do you think those 2 cards should rank or do rank in hobby history and lore?
For baseball cards only, or for the
baseball cards only? You could say sports cards overall, but
top 25 cards of all time.
Both of them. See, I'd put them even higher probably. I'd put them both in the top 10 of baseball cards all time. Okay. In terms of significance, popularity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that the Mays rookie almost commands more respect than the Mantle rookie, because the Mantle 52 top so overshadows in popularity, and just people, even very novices in the hobby know the 52 tops Mantle. And a lot of them, unfortunately, think that's his rookie card. It's even described by dealers as Mantle's rookie card a lot. And it just boggles my mind, because it's probably the biggest myth that just keeps percolating within the hobby. But the Mays card, everybody kind of, 51 Mays is his, it's like, yeah. And he has a 52 tops as well, right? So it's not like Mays doesn't have one. But I think these cards are incredibly significant within the hobby. And the Maze, let's talk about the Maze first, because it's, as you said, it's this weird, like, is he hitting in front of a tree? Is he standing in front of a, tan canvas of some kind? We don't know, but there's a little sliver of a house, it looks like, almost behind him. Do you know the picture of this card, like where that came from?
Yeah, I have it over in my bookcase over there. But
so
yeah,
what is when you look at the whole picture, what is it showing?
Oh goodness.
Or did they add that?
They added the brown in the back. It's
okay.
Not. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I was just
if
curious.
I'd have known and had a second, I could find it. But
that's all right. We're on a podcast. Most people listen to this on podcasts. So
okay.
But yeah, that's interesting to think that was added in. I wonder why. But it's still a great card. I mean, at the end of the day, the Maze rookie is a horizontal card. The Maze and the Mantle are both horizontal, and because they're both getting ready to hit, right?
And if you look on the back of the card, it says age 20. That's the only card in the whole set that doesn't have like a birthday.
It does just say age 20 in parentheses. Ironic.
Yeah. And that's obviously pretty young for a player, but actually Mickey Mantle was the youngest player in the whole set.
Really? Now you got me pulling out the Mantle.
Yeah. It'll say 10/20/31.
Yeah, October 20th, 1931. So the Maze card, to me, has significantly grown in value, which translates to me in terms of appreciation. People desiring this card. Over the last 3 or 4 years, it's really kind of taken off. The pandemic helped this card significantly, because I think people went, whoa, that's a big card. It should probably be worth more, right, than it is. I have a PSA 2 that I bought in
2019 National.
2019. There you go. I was trying to remember. I think I paid $1,600. No, I know I paid $1,600 for it. $1,400, $1,600. Lots of people would do that today, right?
You could triple your money, I think, on that card if you needed to.
I could. It's a PSA 2, but it's a nice looking 2. Certainly some centering issues, but overall, to me, and I've talked about this a bunch, but the registration of the card is the most important thing to me of everything. If everything else is not great, but the registration's good, I'll consider the card, because that's what the card's for. And when a card comes off center or miscut a little bit, it came out of the pack that way, right? So it's not like somebody did that to the card or it became that way. It was made that way. Not ideal, but high grades of this card are getting really, really expensive. Do you have the Maze yet?
I do not, unfortunately. Okay. It's one of I kind of wanted that one to be the last.
Okay.
Many other folks want to put their favorite card to be the last one to get, to build the set. And that's the one for me, over the Mantle. That's really my dream card.
Well, let's talk about the Mantle. It is to me, an incredibly beautiful baseball card. Like, I just look at it and I think how beautiful the blue is, contrasting his jersey, the awesome navy blue Yankees hat that he's wearing. It just puts the focus right on Mickey, because the blue is just kind of just in the background, right? So I've loved this card for so long. It was one of those cards that I thought was very underappreciated in the hobby. I thought it was the 52 Mantle just seemed to have so much more emphasis put on it. I was like, wait a second, that's not even really, like, why isn't the 51 Bowman Mantle have the same allure in the hobby as the 52 Tops? How would you answer that if somebody asked you that question?
I don't think they're educated enough about the hobby. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And not that I've said this a bunch, the 52 Tops is a great card. Absolutely great card.
And it's promoted so much more. It's on covers of magazines. It's all over the news.
Right.
And it's just, wow, so many people know that picture of the 52 Mantle more than the 51 Bowman by far.
Yeah. And I love them. Again, it's not I don't like the 52 Tops. I just don't understand why that card has so much more interest in it, overall in the hobby than the 51 Bowman. But I think that's gaining. I think that's kind of shifting a little bit. It's not overwhelming. People aren't going, yeah, 52 Top sucks, I'm buying the 51 Bowman. That's not what's happening. But there's definitely more people realizing and coming to understand, wow, this is a really great card. It's his first card, period. That's one we need to also have. If we're chasing the 52 Tops, we really need to chase the 51 Bowman. And so that card saw significant growth through the pandemic years as well. But it's come down quite a bit, actually, from where it was at the peak. And so the gap between Mantle prices, same grade, and Mays prices has started to shrunk. Why, to me, there's an argument out there that Mays was a better player than Mantle. And I think if you looked at their overall career, probably true. Mays had a better career than Mantle did. Who is a better player? Mays 5-tool guy, Mantle 5-tool. Like, they were both great. I mean, it's like going, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? I like all of them. They're all good. But
Mantle got hurt. Like when a 51,
riddled with injuries. 51, 51 World Series.
Really,
trips on a sprinkler, right? Tears his knee up.
Yeah.
So he had that plaguing him his entire career. Mays played relatively healthy throughout his career. Mays' career was interrupted by military service, right? But overall, let's go with Mays was a better player. And there's going to be people writing comments like, of course Mays was a better player. And okay, I'll go with that. Then why is Mantle's card worth so much more? Even though the gap is shrinking, it's still worth significantly more than Mays's.
Mantle's been the darling of the hobby for decades. Being in New York City his whole career, after 57, Mays went out to California. So that kind of may have split his fan base a little bit there. And that's it for me.
Yeah, I think
the hobby was in New York City and Brooklyn with Tops, and Philadelphia is where Bowman was. So that's part of my theory.
Mantle is the, no question, no doubt about it, GOAT of the hobby. Period, paragraph. Discussion ends there. The why of that is, I think, huge New York factor, huge success. They were really, really good during his tenure with the Yankees. They won a lot of World Series. And so that certainly helped. He was incredibly talented. And I think there is, whether spoken or unspoken, some bias towards Mays because he was black. And that's not really fair. Mays was a better player, but there was just in that the children of that era, right? When they wanted to collect the player, there were plenty of kids of all races that loved Willie Mays, no question. But it wasn't the same as Mantle. It just wasn't, And again, I think that's being the hobby market is Mays stuff is really coming on. Clemente, Jackie, right? A lot of these Negro League greats that went into the majors they're getting appreciated within the hobby a lot more now than they might have 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's about darn time, I guess is how I would answer that. Just justifiably so, right?
How good were they as a player? Period.
Right. That's all that should matter, right? Period, paragraph. But Mantle is now, and I think will always be, the GOAT of the hobby. You see a Mantle card and I don't know, it's just something, it evokes some type of emotion in people. It's a powerful thing. So again, I don't think Mays' rookie will ever catch the Mantle. I think they can get closer to one another, and I think they will over time. It's just that, wow, Mays and Mantle both pretty great, both in this set. That's, and to have that 1-2 punch, how cool is it to have both of those rookies of, two of the greatest players of all time, and certainly of that era, the two greatest players of that time, right? Both having their rookie cards in this set. That's just, I think it's great. I think it's so cool. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've just been studying this set for 3 or 4 years now, and the 50s into the 60s, I just don't see a set that, it doesn't have those iconic rookie cards. And they started in the 70s and 80s. Rookies became more of a big deal in the hobby, so it's really magnified the significance of this set. Plus, having the high numbers, which really, it's harder to find nice examples, especially for higher numbers. I mean, finding an 8 of a high number centered is like, this one is, I can tell you, it's really, really hard to find. There's less than 20 of them graded, most, 8s, 9s, and 10s. So it's, I just love the set. It's hard to explain, just the time and how I've just grown to love it so much.
So when you're hunting for cards in the set, is there a certain condition you're looking for? Are you looking for 7s and 8s in these cards?
If I can afford the common, yeah, I'll get it. This is a high numbered 8 of Ken Holman, and you wouldn't even know this guy, but he signed with Stan Musial and played in the minors with Stan Musial. Was with the same agent. Obviously didn't have his career, but yeah, it's just the challenge of finding nice examples is what I love. I'm a competitive person, so.
So if I was to throw water on this set, we've just been singing its praises for the last 43 minutes, but if I was to throw water on this set at all, it feels like a 1950 Bowman redo, right? Oh, let's just use the same photographs and for most of the players, and there we go. How many players do you know? How many players there are essentially just copycat cards from 1950 Bowman?
Yeah, I looked. There's 111 that have the same front card images from 50 and 51. And
Doesn't that feel lazy?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, couldn't you do something different? Like, why just give us, rinse and repeat, right? Okay, so how many? 111. So that's a third of the set, essentially.
Yeah, 34%.
Yeah,
I'm a numbers guy like you. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that kind of higher math in my head, but the backs of the cards are, because they're a little bit larger, right, than 50 Bowman, they could get a little more information on the back. You got the card number, you got the name, right, positions. You want to talk about any of that from the back of the cards?
Yeah, the formatting is just all over the place. Like your mace says age 20, and then there's certain dates, and it's just very inconsistent. There's the most common position name is pitchers. There's 121 pitchers, and like 71 infielders and 30 catchers. So there's all kinds of just different, names for what positions they played. So that's kind of confusing, and I've broken that down, but I won't, bore the audience with all of that. But yeah, it's kind of confusing, and I'd wish they'd thought this out more. Even if you look at the 48 Bowman set on the back, it's very like all over the place too, with dates and weights and things like that.
You mean 49 Bowman? Sorry, I had to correct you.
Oh, 48 Bowman is also.
Or 48 Bowman. I'm sorry, I said 48. I would think Leaf in my brain, but
48. Yep.
Sorry, you said Bowman, and I didn't. I heard Leaf. Yep. So
yeah, and there's like 9 errors on the back. They didn't correct any of the errors in the set, so there's no corrected errors at all. So if people are looking for that, they didn't correct any cards at all.
Okay.
So
you mentioned some of the condition issues that this set has. As you've been building it, what do you find are the most prevalent things? Is when if they're looking for these cards and they want to go out and buy them, the things they should really keep on the lookout for?
Yeah, I wrote it down. Wax stains on back, the printed roller lines on the front of the card, front image registration. That's a big thing. Centering. The card isn't exactly cut square. It can kind of be a little bit off. And you'll see like front card image like defects, like little dots. And how I've kind of figured this out, it's just kind of a tip. If you study like the nicest examples you can find online, like through like psacard.com, and just look at the 9s and the 8s, you can kind of compare, is this dot on a really nice example that I can't afford? So you can kind of just compare and contrast, the amazing example to the 4 or 5 that, you can buy. So that's definitely something I suggest people do if they want to, build a set.
And the universal truth is different things matter to people differently. Again, you may be okay with a blurry card. Okay. But if it has nice centering, or, so many people centering is their number one thing. Okay. You'll pay a little more, obviously, for well-centered cards. And that's just kind of the way that goes.
Yeah.
But just learn what you can live with. Look at different examples. Like you said, I think it's important, especially with this set, to be patient and not just buy one to buy one. Hopefully you can compare and contrast multiple different versions of the card and go, okay, I like this one better, and I'm going to go ahead and go for that one for my collection, because you want a card you're happy with and you're proud to own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I would say registration is probably the biggest thing for me, just like you. So I would look for cards that have good registration. I mean, you're not going to find perfectly centered examples very often at all. I mean, I've been looking daily for over 3 years on eBay, literally every day, multiple times a day, and in auctions all over the place. It's just really, really hard to find. So
I get it.
You just have to learn what to put up with.
So was this set released? When do you, based on your research and what you've looked for, when do you think this set was released in 51?
It wasn't, what I know for a fact is it wasn't released before June 15th of 1951, either series. And the reason for that is that there's a card 229 of Bill Howerton. He's a low numbered. He was traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates on June 15th. And on the back of the card, it says Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay.
And also there's a high numbered of Frank Overmeyer, who was traded to the Yankees, and it says Yankees on the back, but he's in a Browns uniform on the front. So it had to have been printed after June 15th, which is, a third of the way through the baseball season. The baseball season started, I think, April 16th of 1951. So they played a lot of games.
Right.
So
yeah, half the season.
I don't know why they waited so long. I mean, Maybe that's because the kids were getting out of school for summertime at that time. I'm not really sure.
So what, I know this is like a lot of sets, this is a set that's had a reprint done, like a pretty high quality reprint. When was that done?
80, I think 85. It was done by the Collectors Company in New York City. It was a dealer. And yeah, you definitely need to be aware of, if you're looking to build this set, to not buy a reprint on accident. And you can really tell because the card, for one, is bigger. 2, the card has a glossy finish on it. And a 3 on the back, on the bottom, under where it says picture card, it's hard to see here, but it says reprint. So actually it says 1986. So it was reprinted in 1986.
Okay.
So
yeah, be on the lookout for that. Mm-hmm. As we finish up here, Mike, is there more stuff that you're eager to learn about this set?
Yep. I would love to know if there's anyone still alive that worked at Bowman, there in Philadelphia in the 40s and 50s. I mean, they'd have to be probably in their 90s, but maybe they're out there, or maybe the grandson or the son of a worker there has some stories. And I'd love to interview someone who, like, my mom worked there, in 49. I mean, that'd be really cool.
Oh my gosh. Talk about the treasure trove of information. If they could remember it, let's hope they could remember.
Yeah, they can remember. Yeah. Also, also this year I've started researching uncut sheets and how they printed the cards. I've looked on all kinds of Googles, everything, and auction sites, and then I have not found like a complete sheet that isn't, have a bunch of print marks on it that you can't tell what it is. So what I've been.
How many cards were on a sheet? 32?
Well, I think the sheets were 8 across.
Okay.
And like the high numbered series are 72, so it'd be 8 by 9.
So one
and
sheet. Get them all.
What I started doing is going on eBay and looking for really horribly cut cards, like this Bob Feller. And you can see how there's a guy on the top. Well, that guy is, George here. So you can kind of puzzle piece it together. And this is Bill Rigney. And on the bottom, that is Warren Spahn.
Okay.
So this is like 2% Warren Spahn card, which is kind of cool. And I'm just kind of proving, it's hard to show them all, but I'm just puzzle piecing it together to prove that this is how the set was put together on an uncut sheet. So that's kind of a long-term kind of, research project I'm working on. So if anybody has, any more information on that, leave comments definitely down in the description of this video, or email Mike and he'll get a hold of me. So.
Well, Mike, that was fun. Again, I love going through these cards. It's again, to me, one of the key sets of the 50s. It's such a great set, mainly because of the Mantle and Maze, but overall, it's just a gorgeous set. It's fantastic. Before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find you on social media and ask you questions if they want, or anything like that.
I'm on Twitter, just This Baseball Card Life on Twitter, and Mike, This Baseball Card Life on YouTube, which is how we kind of got connected a few years ago. So. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Mike, thanks so much for joining me and talking through this with me. I was excited to do this episode, and one, because I love the set, and 2, I'm ready to talk about something else other than Bowman cards. But thanks for helping me close it out with a bang. Really appreciate it. And thank you guys out there for always watching, listening, all that fun stuff. And hey, as always, keep collecting. We'll talk to you soon.